Hi everyone, welcome back to Pages of the Globe. Today I'm going to be reading to you the short story called Love by Stuart. Now the summary of this story is that there is a father who is a farmer and he is walking with his son and his dog when he sees a snake. And he orders his dog to kill the snake. But the son notices that the snake doesn't really want to fight and is actually trying to get back home. So he tries to tell his father to not kill the snake, but his father doesn't listen. And once the snake is killed, they realize that she was just trying to get back home to lay her eggs. And you can tell that the father and the son both feel really bad about basically taking away the chance for many snakes to live. After some time, they come back out and they see the snake's mate grieving for their dead wife. And you can tell that the father has undergone a change of attitude because now he feels sympathy. And so you can tell that he is a dynamic character. So the theme in this story is that there is a common nature in animals and people, and the author shows us this by showing us images of birth and death to emphasize that theme. Now, before I get too much into the story and reveal the full plot, I'm going to tell you a couple facts about the author. Now, Stuart was born on August 8, 1906 and died February 17, 1984. He was an American writer, school teacher, and school administrator who is known for his short stories, poetry, and novels, as well as nonfiction autobiographical works set in Central Appalachia. His first novel was Trees of Heaven, which was published in 1940, and it was set in rural Kentucky. His most popular novel was probably Taps for Private Tussey, which was published in 1943. And that was probably his most popular novel because it sold more than 1 million copies in only just 2 years. And it also won many awards, including the Thomas Jefferson Memorial Award. He's published about 460 short stories, which is a very impressive number. And he was also named as one of the 44 novelists in the first half of the 20th century with the highest critical acclaim. Love itself was published in 1970. Without further ado, let's get on to the story. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below which short story you would like to hear next. Love by Stuart. Yesterday, when the bright sun blazed down on the wilted corn, my father and I walked around the edge of the new ground to plant a fence. The cows kept coming through the chestnut oaks on the cliff and running over the young corn. They bit off the tips of the corn and trampled down the stubble. My father walked in the corn bulk. Bob, our collie, walked in front of my father. We heard a ground squirrel whistle down over the bluff among the dead treetops at the clearing's edge. "Whoop, take him down, Bob," said my father. He lifted up a young stalk of corn with wilted dried roots when the ground squirrel had dug it up for the sweet grain of corn left on its tender roots. There had been a dry spell this spring. This has been a dry spring, and the corn has kept well in the earth, where the grain had sprouted. The ground squirrels love this corn. They dig up rows of it and eat the sweet grains. The young corn stalks are killed, and we have to replant the corn. I can see my father kept sicking Bob after the ground squirrel. He jumped over the corn rows. He started to run toward the ground squirrel. I too started running toward the clearing edge where Bob was jumping and barking. The dust flew in tiny swirls behind our feet. There was a cloud of dust behind us. "It's a big bull black snake," said my father. "Kill him, Bob, kill him!" Bob was jumping and snapping at the snake so as to make it strike and throw itself off guard. Bob has killed 28 copperheads this spring. He knows how to kill a snake. He doesn't rush to do it. He takes his time and does the job well. "Let's don't kill the snake," I said. "A black snake is a harmless snake. It kills poison snakes. It kills copperhead. It catches more mice from fields than a cat." I could see the snake didn't want to fight the dog. The snake wanted to get away. Bob wouldn't let it. I wondered why it was crawling toward a heap of black loamy earth at the bench of a hill. I wondered why it had come from the chestnut oak sprouts and the matted green briars on the cliff. I looked as the snake lifted its pretty head in response to one of Bob's jumps. "It's not a bull black snake," I said. "It's a she-snake. Look at the white on her throat." "A snake is an enemy to me," my father snapped. "I hate a snake. Kill it, Bob. Go on in there and get that snake to quit playing with it." Bob obeyed my father. I hated to see him take the snake by the throat. She was so beautifully poised in the sunlight. Bob grabbed the white patch on her throat. He cracked her long body like an ox whip in the wind. He cracked it against the wind only. The blood spurted from her fine, curved mouth. Something hit against my leg like pellets. Bob threw the snake down. I looked to see what had struck my legs. It was snake eggs. Bob had slung them from her body. She was going to the sand heap to lay her eggs, where the sun is the setting hen that warms them and hatches them. Bob grabbed her body there, on the earth, where the red blood was running down the gray-piled loam. Her body was still writhing in pain. She acted like a green weed howled over new-ground fire. Bob slung her viciously many times. He cracked her limp body against the wind. She was now limber as a shoestring in the wind. Bob threw her riddled body down on the sand. She quivered like a leaf in the lazy wind. Then her riddled body lay perfectly still. The blood colored the loamy earth around the snake. "Look at the eggs, won't you?" said my father. We counted out 37 eggs. I picked an egg up and held it in my hand. Only a minute ago there was life in it. It was an immature seed. It would not hatch. Mother Sun could not incubate it on the warm earth. The egg I held in my hand was almost the size of a quail's egg. The shell on it was thin and tough, and the egg appeared under the surface to be a watery egg. "Well, Bob, I guess you see now why the snake couldn't fight," I said. "It's life. Weaker devour the stronger, even among human beings. Dog kills snake, snake kills birds, birds kill the butterflies. Man conquers all. Man, too, kills for sport." Bob was panting. He walked ahead of us back to the house. His tongue was out of his mouth. He was tired. He was hot under his shaggy coat of hair. His tongue nearly touched the dry dirt, and white flecks of foam dripped from it. We walked toward the house. Neither my father nor I spoke. I still thought about the dead snake. The sun was going down over the chestnut ridge. A lark was singing. It was late for a lark to sing. The red evening clouds floated above the pine trees on our pasture hill. My father stood beside the path. His black hair was moved by the wind. His face was red in the blue wind of day. His eyes looked toward the sinking sun. And my father hates snakes, I thought. I thought about the agony women know of giving birth. I thought about how they will fight to save their children. Then I thought of the snake. I thought it was silly for me to think such thoughts. This morning, my father and I got up with the chickens. He says one has to get up with the chickens to do a day's work. We got the post hole digger, axe, spud, measuring pole, and the mattock. We started for the clearing's edge. Bob didn't go along. The dew was on the corn. My father walked behind the post hole digger across his shoulder. I walked in front. The wind was blowing. It was a good morning wind to breathe, and a wind that makes one feel like he can get under the edge of the hill and heave the whole hill upside down. I walked out the corn row where we had some yesterday afternoon. I looked in front of me. I saw something. It moved. It was moving like a huge black rope winds around the windlass. "Steady," I said to my father. "Here is a bull black snake." He took one step up beside me and stood. His eyes grew wide apart. "What do you know about this?" he said. "You've seen the bull black snake now," I said. "Take a good look at him. He is lying beside his dead mate. He has come to her. He perhaps was on her trail yesterday." The male snake had trailed to our room. He had come in the night under the roof of stars as the moon shed rays of light on the quivering clouds of green. He had found his lover dead. He was coiled beside her, and she was dead. The bull black snake lifted his head and followed us as we walked round the dead snake. He would have fought us to his death. He would have fought Bob to his death. "Take a stick," said my father, "and throw him over the hill so Bob won't find him." Do you ever see anything to beat that? I've heard they do that, but this is my first time to see it. I took a stick and threw him over the brink into the dewy sprouts on the cliff. The end.